Hello everyone. Welcome back to Sustainable Living with Shilpa Reddy, powered by Planet Green's Farm Natura, a new beginning to your life. On today's episode of Dates County Nature's Tycoon, I have with me a deep thinker, a problem solver, and the founder of Keti, an award-winning climate-smart farm tech startup. Let's welcome Mr. Sathya Raghu Mokkapati on my show. Hello, Sathya Garu. So happy to have you on my show. And I went through your profile and it's rather very interesting and intriguing. You have a majors in chartered accountancy. I heard you taught 20,000 students. You have written for very prominent platforms, TED speaker, and now pursuing PG in public policy and a green farmers innovator. How did you manage all of this, and what is the reason behind having such diverse interests and persuasions?
Firstly, thanks a lot for having me on the show, and I really enjoyed watching a few of your shows where I found a lot of purpose in the work what you're doing and in the kind of people that you invite to spread the stories. I come from a simple lower middle class family where I spent a part of my early childhood in a village and a town, and then properly I came to Hyderabad, I can say when I was in my 5th standard. And then did my schooling. Yes, as you said, I went on to pursue my chartered accountancy. One defining moment which really made me think deeply about agriculture. That was when I was just about to start chartered accountancy. I was about 17-year-old when...
this was when you were 17 itself, you had this.
I wanted to become a chartered accountant. I wrote in my friends' notebooks and all that I want to become a chartered accountant when I was in my 7th standard. So, but when I was about 17, when I was on the... It was just about... I think I enrolled for chartered accountancy. I was just... The classes were supposed to start. So I went to my mom's village, that's one of our native villages, and then I saw a farmer sitting next to a farm stream and eating mud.
Eating mud?
Eating mud. Something didn't seem right. I mean, why do you eat mud, right? In food, if you have even a grain of, stone or a mud or anything, you just don't like it.
Right.
This person was eating that. As a 17-year-old, I was playing cricket in those fields, and I saw that. I yelled at him. And I asked, what is this stupid mud eating business? Well, I don't exactly remember what he said. There are quite a lot of things he said, but there was one sentence which I specifically remember. He said, my stomach doesn't know that my pocket is empty.
Oh my God.
I was not born with a silver spoon, but that is not the level of poverty that I have been exposed to.
Right.
So, I came back and I spoke to my grandfather about it. My grandfather was a freedom fighter, my dad's dad, and mom's dad is a farmer. So I told him, in Telugu, Tatgaru is what we call him. I said, Tatgaru, this is what I saw. I was really angry, that typical 17-year-old, just shaking up all of that.
Yes.
So I said, something should change, we should fight. With all his calmness, he said, what it requires is not fighting. If you see somebody on the road without footwear, most people ignore.
Right.
But a few people just think, oh, this person doesn't have, footwear, is all they see. But very few people try to understand the root cause that maybe this person doesn't have money enough to buy footwear. Right? So going to the root cause is really important to address a problem.
So this is what your father told
My grandfather.
Grandfather.
And he said,
wise man.
Oh, absolutely. He is one of my greatest influences in life. So he said, think about it. What is the root cause? And try to find a way to address from the root cause. I continued my chartered accountancy. I joined PwC. I was working. Say, for example, on an assignment, if I went to Bangalore, over the weekends, I used to just, run away to the nearby villages to understand what exactly happens.
Oh, so the quest started from that day on.
The why of it, right? Then same thing. Doesn't matter which city I go to over the weekends, just escape. Or early mornings or evenings, just read up.
Okay.
What is happening? I think by the time I completed my internship in PwC, I had to make a choice if I wanted to continue in the accountancy profession or make a shift.
Right.
This question, again, I was lucky enough to have cleared CA all levels in the first shot.
Okay.
So age also was on my side, 21, 22-year-old, finished CA. So you just have a little spring in your feet in every step. The top brains in the world seldom spend their time on problems that matter. Numerically put it as a top 1% of people in the world
Right.
largely spend their time using their intellect, networks, to make the point not 1% richer and better.
Right.
So somewhere it just felt like it's not out of altruism. Let me also put it that way. I really had to ask myself this question, because the more fundamental thing of where do I want to spend my time, efforts, talent? When I asked that question, this incident came back where I felt I do not know whether I will ever answer that question or whether I'll ever find a solution to that in my lifetime.
Okay.
But can I sincerely invest my time and efforts and talent and resources in discovery of that answer?
Okay.
So it's more an input metric,
Right.
not an outcome, right? Outcome will happen. That was a choice I made. So that's when I made a shift. I moved out and then I started, farming.
Okay.
So with my, I started Cosmos Green. Cosmos Green again as an ethos. Cosmos is universe, green. So how do you, in whatever way, right? How do you make this a greener planet, right? So that was the larger calling.
Okay.
So how do you make this planet a greener planet,
Okay.
a better planet? So Cosmos Green started that way.
When did you start this Cosmos Green?
2011. It's about 10 years ago. We started 10, 11 years ago. We started Cosmos Green. And first 3.5 years of Cosmos Green was do farming.
You yourself
Me,
do farming.
my co-founders, we said do farming. Because before you try to solve, before you say, oh, I have a solution for the farmers, so do farming and figure out first of all whether you can make sense or not.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
So we had a couple of amazing mentors and people who backed us, Mr. Ramkrishna, Mr. Jayaraman Garu. So these are some people who backed us where they said, okay, you are genuinely passionate about it. We know what alternatives you are choosing to let go to prioritize this journey. So they really backed us. And we started farming. Then something fantastic happened. So about 3.5 years, in about 250 acres, we were doing farming in 2 pockets.
250 acres?
Yeah, so about 140 acres in Raichur and about 110 acres near Shadnagar.
Okay.
Our idea was basically, let's do farming, let's see whether there is a way to make it work. I grew up, and also the narrative with which you read in the newspapers is, farming is a failing profession.
Right.
Farmers means they are poor people.
That's
Farmers are poor people. Farming is a failing profession.
Yeah.
Farmers have to inevitably migrate. This is the narrative with which you grow up.
Correct.
Right? Even my father used to tell me in my childhood, if you don't study well, you will go back to village and do farming. So, it is the most unsexy way to communicate or create an aspiration in somebody.
You're right.
Right? How that is how we were raised. So, from that point, they say, okay, you have studied something which is considered to be reasonably difficult. You studied something which is considered to be reasonably difficult, and you cleared. Now, how can you use your time and talent to do something which you would have been forced to do had you failed in everything, right? So that was a funny choice. So that way we started farming, and that was a time when we clearly understood that the kind of climate risk, how it was affecting farming on a day-to-day basis. And then from Cosmos Green, how Keti World, all those things happened gradually. But in all this while, how do I run my home? How do I pay my bills?
Yeah, absolutely.
So that question got me to start classes for CA students for a couple of hours every day. So that is how it just started.
Okay.
And again, I'm extremely grateful to how life has treated me. Something we just started with 4 students.
Right.
In the classroom, went on to become a thing where there used to be like auditoriums filled with students, and
wow.
It's just a surreal feeling, if I just think about it.
Always been a child prodigy?
Well, I was actually not. I think I was more of a first principle thinker right from my childhood, as I think about it.
Okay.
I was not a prodigy by any stretch of imagination. If I was a prodigy, I wouldn't have been thrown out of my school, or I wouldn't have been detained in my 5th standard.
Okay, that's another story.
So I was fundamentally that first principle thinker. Really curious about the why of things.
Right.
Not just accepting the the way
Ready-made
things.
answers or
Ready-made
conditioning.
answers. So one of my gurus, Sathya Raghu Garu, from my childhood, he played a big role in creating that inquisitiveness and helping me become a better first principle thinker. So anyway, so that's how teaching happened. But now, through a platform called Indigo Learn, there's an amazing bunch of team that runs that right now.
Are you still teaching?
I am not actively teaching right now. So it's a digital platform through which from a few hundreds and thousands of students, now it's reaching to next league of access to students across the country, across the world.
Wow.
So but I'm actively not a part of that. So there is a separate team which runs that, the team Indigo Learn. So they that way the teaching is going on. So
that's also still on.
Yeah, that is on. So my classes go, but I actively don't teach.
Got it. Yeah. So tell me about the model of Cosmos Green.
Originally, it was just like, okay, how do we get started? Start farming. It's just that's how it started.
Okay.
But over time, today, standing where we are or sitting where we are, Cosmos Green is a sandbox for innovations to solve some of the largest problems of the world. Particularly in the space of climate change.
Climate change, okay.
Now, take an example. How do you create more forests? If that is one statement. How do you preserve the forests which are there? That is another statement. Right? How do you preserve the organic carbon in the soil?
Right.
Statement number 3. You can have series of statements like this.
Right.
What Cosmos Green tries to do is it chooses certain problem statements and brings together a bunch of well-meaning people, right? So one person may not be able to buy a 100-acre, 200-acre land.
Correct.
Right? But imagine if 50 of us come together, 100 of us come together, maybe we can do that.
Yes.
Right? Now, then it's a matter of choice, right? So do you want to just do some lifestyle thingy there, or do you really want to do something which, if it succeeds, can be world changing?
Okay.
So that way in Cosmos Green, what we currently try to do is, how do we bring on board like-minded people who care about the planet? That does not mean it's a charity. It's a win-win-win situation for people who are coming together to be a part of that project.
Okay.
For the planet and for farmers. How do you create a win-win-win game? Is how Cosmos Green thinks about it. So through Cosmos Green right now, it is going to be like one of the easiest ways in which people can participate in solutions which over time can address climate change. Right?
Okay.
So one of the things which we had done in Cosmos Green, in our first project, after about 3 years, we converted the first project into a 48 megawatt of solar and wind project.
Wow.
And it is right now
solar and wind.
Yeah, combined it is about 48 megawatt project, a renewable energy project which is running.
Okay.
So it's contributing to clean power with a independent team which runs that. Then in the second project, we realized that today billions of acres of forests are getting chopped off to feed the planet, right? To do agriculture, right? Now, talking about growing a new forest should be step 2.
Correct.
First, finding a way, a sensible way to prevent the current forest from being chopped off has to be priority 1.
Absolutely.
So then how can we grow more from same portion of land? How can the productivity go up? Right. Productivity going up should not be misconstrued as, oh, you're just dumping more and more chemicals into it to make the productivity go up.
Right.
No, there is a sensible way in which productivity can go up if we bring in right technology. How do we bring in right technology which will make the productivity go up without it being destructive to the planet?
Right.
Right? That discovery, which of course has to create climate smart incomes for the farmers, climate resilient incomes for the farmers. That discovery got us to this beautiful thing that we do called Keti, where in Keti we design, build and service micro greenhouses for smallholder farmers.
Okay.
This we started about 5 years ago, and now it is something which started as a small innovation in one of our Cosmos Green farms.
Okay.
Today is reaching hundreds and thousands of villages across the country.
Okay.
And most importantly, it is a genuine solution which is doubling the farmer's income, putting an extra 60,000 to 1 lakh rupees per annum in the pockets of smallholder farmers.
That's huge for them.
Who struggle to make that money even from 3-4 acres of open field farming, right? So such solutions, again, it's a sensible solution of where you're bringing technology, which is helping the farmers, is also helping the planet, where we use hardly 2% water compared to what is used in open field farming.
Tell me, how is that? Like, what is the technology behind it?
Honestly, it is a very simple solution, right? The beautiful thing with what we do at Keti is it is so simple, so commonsensical, such first principle thing.
Okay.
My co-founders and I, when after by then we already did Cosmos Green for about 3.5-4 years, and we realized open field farming cannot be a solution for farmers at scale because of increased heat, increased pests, reduced water. So clearly open field farming, take 15-20 years from now, it can only be on a downtrend.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
Then what is a realistic solution for that?
And also with the climate change, untimely rains, I think now it's even more unpredictable.
Yeah.
Right?
What we had done was we kind of spent about 6 months spending time with farmers,
Okay.
hearing from them what they have to say.
Okay.
And that is one of the best things that we had done. Listening to those farmers without putting our bias on the table. It was difficult, let me admit. But that was like a accountability practice that we had to really build and learn.
Yeah, it's their problem you're going to solve, so you have to listen to them.
Right? It's not, I like to solve that problem, that is a cool problem, I want to spend time on that. No. What is the problem? How are they articulating that problem? What are their unmet and unarticulated needs?
Okay.
Right? Let us understand that. By distilling the problem and understanding the root cause, again taking it back to what my grandfather asked me to do, try to find a solution without reinventing the wheel.
Okay.
That was an important piece.
Yes.
Right? So when we realize that heat is increasing, water is going down, pests are multiplying, and as a result of all this, agriculture is becoming unviable. People are not able to make enough money. And we have about still 40 to 50 crore people in India whose homes run on agriculture.
Yes.
And in that, about upwards of 80% are smallholder farmers, precisely 86% are smallholder farmers. And what is the solution for them? Right? There is no technology for them. There is no technology out there to serve the smallholder farmers. So if you think from a big picture, it is a crisis.
It is. It is also said that farmer community, like not even 1% want their children to go into farming. Absolutely.
There is a CSDS survey, a central government survey which was done, which showed that 3 out of 4 parents don't want their children to go into farming. 90% of them want to quit farming if they find an alternative.
Exactly.
Right? So these kind of things, whether we can debate, is it 75%, is it 90%?
Whatever it is,
but the point is,
it's not lucrative.
You know that there is a more than 75% chance that these kids will not come into farming, and this is the last generation that is currently farming.
Right.
It's a great chance.
Yes.
Right?
It is, yeah.
Keeping that, I have a lot of hope in the humanity, how we evolved. Right? We have had innumerable challenges like this over our, tens of thousands of years of evolution and civilization.
Yes.
We find a way to overcome that. Now the question in front of us is, are we going to make it a fully industrialized farming setting, which will be devoid of culture?
Okay. Yeah, again, running it like an industry.
right? Or will we find a way to make agriculture work for our farmers, creating a win-win-win
Okay.
for the farmers, for the planet, for the business? How do you create a win-win-win, right? So no point, you can't enforce a win-lose game, right? If you design a win-win game, that is where the intellect is required, that is where some sensibility is required. If you create those win-win games, then it is no longer an act of charity.
Right.
It is an act of sensibility.
Absolutely.
It is a game of incentives.
Correct.
People engage, people do that for their reasons, right? So that's how, in Keti, we designed a basically greenhouses existed for like some 60-70 years in the world, right? That is, we didn't innovate any molecule, right? But what we had done was, we kept smallholder farmer at the center. We examined the entire ecosystem. How does this climate smart farming work in the context of smallholder farmer? Okay. So this person has 60,000-70,000 rupees, 80,000 rupees maximum annual family income. Now, how on earth will this person invest 40 lakh rupees into a greenhouse? No chance.
No chance.
Right?
Yes.
So their aspiration is also, in Telugu they say, Anna oka 5-10,000 వస్తే చాలన్నా మేము మా ఊళ్ళోనే ఉంటాం.
Yes.
If they actually earn that 5 to 10,000 rupees, they'll be in their village and they'll do farming and they are reasonably happy.
Yeah, right? That's true.
It is sad that today they don't make that money consistently. They don't make that money consistently. It's a staggering, in fact, it's a very disturbing statistic, I would say. If you take a 5-year average, average farmer family in India loses money. They don't make money.
I heard that too.
How does it make sense? You work for 5 years in a company and you say that, one, you don't get your salary net, but overall you end up losing money from a job. I want to see who would go and work.
Nobody.
Right? That's the real problem. That is the elephant in the room we should address. And searching a solution for that made us realize these are simple people, simple dreams, simple aspirations.
Right.
And they need a solution which is also simple.
Okay.
They don't require a solution where you sit in Hyderabad in a cafe and operate a greenhouse which irrigates plants in a village. That is not the problem statement. That is not the problem statement for the 80 to 90% of farmers that grow our food. Right? So what is their problem statement? I am ready to put in effort. I am still not able to get a predictable income. That is a problem statement. How can, for somebody who's not ready to put in effort, we can't even solve. Right? That is also not the problem statement.
Yeah, they are willing to put in the effort.
These people put in like real serious effort. How do you make agriculture work for them? Right? So that way we kind of designed a greenhouse which is from like 30-40 lakh greenhouses. Long story short, over 7 iterations, today our greenhouse sits in 1/10 of an acre.
Okay.
Which is roughly about 400 square meters.
Okay.
And this greenhouse is no longer the 30-40 lakh greenhouse. This is roughly around 1 lakh rupees.
Okay.
And this ensures that roughly 80,000 rupees to 1 lakh rupees farmers take home every year from the greenhouse. And it uses 2% water compared to what is used in open field. Because
Such a big difference. Why is that? Because of its close?
Yeah, so there are 3 layers, 3 elements. One, precision in the water given. Right?
Okay.
Plants they don't drink water actually. Plants don't drink water. They just need moisture. Right? So how do you give moisture? Don't make plant drink water. They don't drink water. Right? How do you give the right moisture?
So in that sense, agriculture is using a lot more than water is actually needed.
Absolutely. Right? So we waste water.
Yeah.
We fundamentally waste. In fact, one of our farmers beautifully said, Anna, in your greenhouse, the water what we give over 1 year is the water that I give for my paddy field 1 acre in 1 day.
Wow. Are you serious?
Right? And when I just put that math together, yes, that makes sense. Right? So, and
wow,
they hardly make like 20% of what they would have made from what they make from a greenhouse. So, how do you also, simply sensitizing people on resources, use less water. How do they use less water? What is the way for them to use less water?
Yes.
Don't spray pesticides. How do they know that? So what we do, we cut off the heat, right?
Yes.
When we cut off the heat, it is creating better conditions for the plants to grow.
Okay.
There is a netting on all sides. It cuts off the pests, bugs, all these things.
All the bugs.
So when you cut off at source, and 90% of them can't even enter,
Right.
naturally the need to spray
Becomes
pesticides
less.
and all will naturally come down.
Right.
Then you build a small change, behavior change element to say, okay, you don't have to use 100 ml, use 5 ml. So that is a realistic way in which we can move people towards safer farming, sensible farming, versus saying, no, this is bad. Oh, no, people in cities want organic food. I heard so many farmers tell me, if my crop fails, do any of you care?
Yeah, nobody.
Right? If I get floods in my village, will anybody show up and ask me? And you city people suddenly say that, oh, we want safe food, grow safe food for me. Right? What is the incentive for me to be honest to you? Right? You are not a partner in bad times for me. Right?
That's right.
Right. That is where we have to really build these sensible solutions, which meet the realities of where they are and the aspirations of the world that where the flow naturally is. So that's how we kind of thought about Keti and what we designed.
Okay. So it is said that if we change the way we are doing agriculture, I mean, mainly if we convert the entire agriculture into organic agriculture, the production will come down by 90%. So we are not ready for that. So we have to depend on chemical-based farming. But at the same time, because of too much chemicals, it is also said that we are heading towards rapid desertification. And there's no organic content because we're going on adding, salts, not organic content. So where can we find a balance between these two?
Yeah, great. In fact, when we started off, we also started idealistically saying we will do organic, all the 100%. Like, we ran farms which were like role model farms for 100% natural farming, organic farming, where we did very scientifically. This plot organic farming, this plot with other things, showing demonstrations. Thousands of people used to come. Ultimately, we realized that, as you rightly said, today there is no balance in these extremes. Right? Both the camps have logical arguments. There can be one argument of, oh, you have to increase the food productivity, you just have to keep dumping more and more nutrients into the soil, fertilizers, whatever you want to call it. On the other hand, you talk about going this extreme of purely we have to do organic and we have to grow safe food. I want to really bring people's attention to a sensible narrative which I believe can work at scale. It is not these two extremes don't work.
Yes.
What you said, absolutely I agree with. Right? This extreme of ruining the soils and making toxic food is not fun for anyone.
Right.
And also this over-idealistic thing of saying, oh, the world has to have only organic food is also not sensible.
Yeah.
How do we gradually move the world towards zero residue food?
Zero?
Residue
food. Okay.
Right? So think about nutritious food which is not toxic.
That's right.
That should be the North Star for the world. And Europe is actually talking a lot about it.
Okay.
While many other parts of the world are yet to talk enough about it, zero residue food is really picking up a lot in Europe. And in fact, some parts here and there in the world also it's catching up. But I believe by doing, for example, what we are doing, the productivity in vegetable growing using our greenhouse practice increases for some vegetables by 5 to 7 times compared to what is done in open field farming.
5 to 7 times.
5 to 7 times.
So the farmer is actually getting 5 times more income than he was earning before.
Right. Technically, at least there is produce subject to price. Right? They stand a better chance.
Yeah, they stand
a better chance. Now, productivity is increasing. You can also, in using technology, you can also reduce the kind of sprays which are happening and do a sensible farming and keep regularly checking the residue levels, over time tweak the practices.
Okay.
What will happen is it's not these extremes of no, we'll not spray anything versus we'll spray everything. No, as because we are saying there is no realistic answer for the world in that.
Right.
It can be a lifestyle thing, right? It can be a lifestyle thing. There can be some 10,000 people across the country who say that I will pay whatever the bill for the vegetables is. I don't care. I will buy. Maybe 25,000 rupees per month I'll spend. But that is not the reflection of what our Indian, average population is, right?
Even world,
or the world population,
or the world,
right?
for that matter.
So that is why I see that a realistic solution is zero residue farming with focus on nutrition.
Yes.
Again, the problem with organic is the people stopped applying their first principle thinking there. Poison comes from nature, right?
Yes.
When you say natural organic, poison also comes from nature, right? They just pluck some datura flowers, right?
Yes.
And they just mash it. They make a decoction out of that. It has atropine.
Okay. I don't know about that.
Atropine basically is poison.
Okay.
That is what you have as an active ingredient in many of the pesticides. Okay. Now that is just used indiscriminately in natural farming. I saw so many farmers. We will bring more flowers, we'll bring more of these leaves, and they will just pound them and we'll just spray them. That works on the brain. It slows down the brain capacity. So now these are the unintended consequences of so-called organic farming. The way in inorganic farming, by excessive sprays, the way you have problems, here also it's important to put this on record and say that unscientifically done organic farming
is also as dangerous.
Also has dangers, right? Also has dangers. Not only the food security issue, the safety issue, the nutrition issue.
Yes.
So considering that, we have to really bring the narrative to the nutrition of what we eat, right? And somewhere that middle path needs to be celebrated. Right? We should not celebrate those extremes which are unsustainable.
Yeah, right? Unsustainable, and not everybody can access either this or that.
Right. It can't be a thing of privilege, right? Can we simply say safe food is a thing of privilege?
Right.
The top 1% of the world can eat safe food. The rest of the world has to eat whatever nonsense is produced. That's not a sensible statement to make.
Absolutely
right?
not.
Coming from that place, we have to create a sense of awareness, and we have to celebrate zero residue farming. We have to celebrate nutritious food. Right. And that is where a blend of, both have their good.
Yes, of
right?
course. Yeah.
How do we stop doing this mudslinging against, this fight, and how do
some middle ground
how do we bring the good of both and say, this is the new normal we want to celebrate, right? This is an example for the world to emulate, right? So that is what I believe can be a realistic path.
So what is your idea about FPOs?
Farmers fundamentally have this issue of disaggregated land holding.
Okay.
Smaller land holdings. With every additional day, it can only become smaller and smaller because of the ancestral or generational property rights, inheritance, all
and
these
encroachment
things.
most of the time.
All of that. So that's a separate story.
Yes.
So what FPOs are trying to do is farmer producer companies, as they call it.
Yeah.
They are trying to create a way to get the farmers together to create economies of scale, right? That requires a small mindset thing where we should stop looking at Indian farmers' land holding. Small land holding should not be seen as a bug.
Okay.
Small land holding, first of all, should be seen as a feature of Indian agriculture.
Yeah, it is. You're right about it.
Right? It is not a bug in Indian agriculture.
Yes,
it is a feature of Indian agriculture.
Been there.
Right? So then you are less judgmental about it.
Correct.
You are more reasonable about it.
Okay.
And then, if this is the feature, what type of ecosystem is needed? On the inputs what they get, on the market linkages what they have, how can we create economies of scale? I'm a great believer that over time, farmer producer companies are going to be the true backbone for the farming sector to thrive. Okay, yes. I'm a true believer. Today we are in the early stages,
yes,
where we are just putting them together, forcing people to just form part of these groups.
Correct, yes.
And not creating enough activity and momentum in those groups. Somewhere on and off you find bright stories, but That's 1 in 25, 1 in 50. But it will take time. But I'm a believer in long term.
Right.
This is really a great solution which will help Indian farming thrive.
That's the future is for farming. Also, how can a farmer make as much money as an engineer or an IT professional? Because I think he puts in the most physical hard work, and the knowledge that he has is so intrinsic. Why I'm saying intrinsic is, it is said that even if you do PhD in agriculture, you can't really handle farming if you're not born into it, or if you don't know to read the signs of the climate, or it's an intrinsic knowledge which has been passed on from generations. So what would you say about that?
See, my answer on this will not be the most politically right to the ear.
Okay.
Any profession or business which requires you to, if physical labor and hard work is what it takes to make you thrive, it is not the top end of the professions.
Yeah, that's right.
The work which requires brain and you connecting those dots and making things work is where you, the evolution has always taught us that, right? Right from our hunter-gatherer society to today.
Not the muscle power.
It's not
really, always the muscle power.
It's the most dispensable thing, right? The muscle power is the most dispensable thing, right? There are 4 super muscular guys and one guy who is as lean as me, who just has a gun, right? Yeah. Or a sword, right? So the muscle power is the most dispensable one.
Correct.
Right? So considering that, I feel over glorify the hard work which goes into farming. And we attribute that for that hard work, they have to get a lot of result. Whether we like it or not, farmers will enjoy farming, particularly, right? So generationally, every next generation wants more comforts than the previous generation. Correct. Who can deny this, right? Every next generation wants more comforts than the previous generation.
And it's been that
that's an evolutionary, that's an evolution, right? Yes. So considering that, we have to fast track our journey from the traditional farming to smart farming. We should not celebrate back-breaking farming. We should not celebrate that. We should celebrate journey from back-breaking farming to same farmer doing smarter farming without it being back-breaking and slowly adding greater comfort to their work, which can start slowly becoming aspirational for their next generations to possibly look at that. Right. But how would a farmer, for example, if that person is a father of a young kid, how is that person going to be the most aspirational role model from a career point of view for this child who today has access to so much of technology and their aspirations are around, every profession other than farming, right? So to change the narrative, you have to change what we celebrate, right? So that's my view on that.
Okay. How can they make that kind of profit? Again, smart farming is what you're saying.
I think there are 2 steps. The way, for example, we are doing at Cosmos Green. Some people may have large tracts of lands, right? They might just be idle. How can we convert them into sandboxes for innovation?
Okay.
Right? Innovating for the real problems.
Okay. Right? So innovation.
Innovation, right? See, a lot of environmentalists will go out of job if sensible scientific innovations come in. Now, again, not the most politically pleasing statement to hear.
Okay, it's interesting though.
Right? But think about it. You can shout at the peak of your voice. You shouldn't use cars, you shouldn't do this. But the moment a sensible technology comes in, which is helping you with mobility and also has clean power, right? Then you will say, oh, then that's okay, right? This actually applies to everything.
Everything, yes.
Right? So it's the environmentalists will have job to find a new problem. I mean, again, it's not to demean the environmentalists. I have a lot of respect, right? It takes a lot of courage to stand out and say this is wrong. But ideally, a true environmentalist should wish that they go out of job for that problem. Right?
Okay.
A true environmentalist should truly think they should go out of job for that problem, and the world changes and course corrects to get there. So, again, bringing it back. So, we have to innovate. Why I believe in the power of innovation is we can just, like, again, I might just go and take it back to what my grandfather said. It is not just shouting out of anger.
That's true.
Right? Find the problem.
Find a solution.
Go to the root cause. Create sensible solutions. Right? Get the market ready and scale.
That's true.
And they have to solve the problem at scale. Right? It is not just solving in 5 villages, 10 villages and they ending. No.
Right.
We need solutions which can scale. Right? So these are all tough journeys. These are all tough.
So having, now that you spoke about scaling, how much scope do we have, like in Indian farming, for more Ketis like yours to come up?
We believe that thousands of organizations are needed to do this work.
To address.
Thousands of organizations.
So how would you inspire or advise the youth to come into what you're doing, which can be profitable, wherein they can see a bright future, at the same time addressing this, because you said there's room for so many more Ketis like that of yours.
One thing I personally do believe is pure altruism is short-lived.
Short-lived.
When people talk about solutions around climate, around sustainable solutions, some people just go to the extreme of saying, I may not make money, but I want to do it. Right? It sounds nice on a television, but it is not realistic.
It is not.
Right? I'm deeply inspired by one sticker I saw on my co-founder's laptop. Do good, make money.
Okay.
Right?
Yes.
It's not this or that.
Right.
It is this and that.
So economy, ecology should have a perfect balance.
Absolutely, right. So, and the largest problems and the best solutions, if you want to marry them, you really need to create sensible businesses over time, which I'm not even talking about sensible non-profits, I'm talking about sensible businesses over time, who think about this win-win-win. If I'm doing all this work, how do I win?
Right.
How can say people win or the farmers win, or how does the planet win? Creating those win-win-win solutions. Right?
Absolutely.
And for that, there are a lot of amazing people doing amazing work. Right? And a great beginning point, I think, is working for a couple of years with them.
Yes.
Understanding the journey. If somebody spends 2 years with an entrepreneur who spent 10 years, there is a good chance that this person gets an accelerated learning. I'm not saying they may become equal. This person might actually do something way better, but at least there is a visibility into some accelerated learning.
Correct.
Right? So that is a good way to begin. Right? Work with good enterprises.
Keti would also be imparting the knowledge that you gained and learned over the years to people who want to get into this.
Well, Cosmos Green does that, Keti does that. Not just us. There are so many organizations which are doing this kind of work.
Okay.
Really want this tribe to multiply.
Okay.
Right?
Yes.
It's these are not meant to be
farming.
These are not meant to be lonely tribes.
Yes.
These have to be the mainstream habitations.
Right.
Right? So yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Anything you want to add?
One of the things which over time I learned, which inspires me. When I wake up in the morning, it really tells me that there is a real celebration in that. Yes, climate change is real. 2 degrees temperature rise, unfortunate, but more or less seems inevitable. That has a lot of implications on billions of people who live in coastal areas.
That's right.
On people who depend on whose livelihoods depend on agriculture, and the general health, the general diseases. It's going to have really terrible impacts. I wake up with this optimism that we can solve the climate problem. It's not merely we can just adapt. We can mitigate the climate problem. I'm a massive believer in that. Okay. And I wish, with this amazing work, what you do in the talk show, more and more people who want to be a part of solution, right? If you want to ignore, don't reach out. If you want to simply crib and complain, don't reach out.
Yes.
But if you want to be a part of the solution,
right?
There are many ways in which you can be a part of solution.
That's true.
You have a piece of land, big piece of land, you want to use it as a sandbox for innovation, that's a way. You want to give your time and talent, that's a way. There can be many more ways. People just want to fund such innovations. But I am 100%, well, it might sound arrogant, but I wake up with this belief.
Okay.
While there might be a, the other side of me which says, I have to be skeptic, right?
Okay.
With the belief that collectively we can solve this climate problem.
Of course, that is very optimistic, but what role does the government and policy make? Because I think only when that comes into place can there be a huge change that can be, substantial.
I will just slightly flip that. Over time, some evolved politicians who take some sensible calls, sensible policies is one aspect.
Okay.
A lot of times, the economics and the policy, the politics and economics of a policy often don't converge, right? Considering that, my greatest hope is governments will change what they have to change if it starts from people and people start demanding that change. Because ultimately it is the people who will have to vote them to power or vote them out of power.
I can't agree more.
Right?
Yes.
So, over time, initially I had so much more hope in government that they will be the ones to change.
Yeah.
I'm not pessimistic, but I think there is a process. At scale, unless this comes as if it's a civil society demand, then
the government has to oblige.
Will bend. Governments have to, those who are in politics can win only when they listen to people properly.
Absolutely.
So that is how I feel the change can be initiated. But yeah, obviously, what government can do with a stroke of pen, 1,000 NGOs can't do in their lifetime.
That's the thing,
That's the superpower of government.
Huge change can happen there.
Yeah.
But as you said, unless we demand, or the farmers demand in this case, they will not bend.
Yes.
Okay, super. One last question. What is your wildest ambition in the work you're doing?
My wildest ambition, I think I just mentioned that in my lifetime, I want to find people around me saying, we found a way to make the climate all right.
Wow.
Right? We don't have to lose our sleep over increased carbon.
Yes.
We found, we are all right. Maybe it's like a 30-40 year thing from today.
Right.
That's my
And as you rightly said earlier, you can't discount human aspiration and what human minds can do when they come together.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That was such a beautiful conversation, and I felt like I was sitting in front of a teacher. Somehow I end up asking less questions and listening more, because I think you had so much to say, and how you connected everything was so beautiful and so articulate. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Shilpa, and I hope from this becomes like a beginning for many more conversations with many more well-intentioned people who want to act on this, because climate is a thing which affects everyone. There's nobody who is escaping this.
Yes.
You can be oblivious to what farmer suffering is, but you cannot be oblivious to what's happening with climate.
That's right.
I really hope this becomes like a beginning point for many conversations with many more people. Thank you so much, and good luck with your work.
Pleasure is mine, and thank you again. I hope you enjoyed this thought-provoking and meaningful conversation with Mr. Sathya Raghu. Please do subscribe to my channel. Stay tuned for more updates. See you all next week. Signing off, Shilpa Reddy.